Picture this. 50,000 years ago, someone in your camp steals your food again. And there's no police to call, no judge, no courthouse, nobody with a badge and a clipboard. So what happens next? Turns out ancient humans built one of the smartest justice systems in history, long before anyone invented a courtroom. And the way they did it might make you rethink everything you assume about primitive people. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Justice didn't start with kings and laws carved into stone. It started with something way older and honestly way more clever. Ancient humans lived in tiny groups, usually 20 to 50 people. Everybody knew everybody. There was no hiding, no faking a good reputation while acting shady behind everyone's back. If you did something wrong, the whole group knew by dinner. And that changed everything about how punishment worked. Picture your camp as basically one giant shared house with 30 roommates, except there's no landlord, no rulebook pinned to the fridge, and nobody to call if things go wrong. In a group that small, your reputation wasn't just about looking good, it was survival. If people stopped trusting you, stopped sharing with you, stopped backing you up, you were in serious trouble. Out there, alone, without a group covering your back at night, life got dangerous fast. So the group had a system, not written down anywhere, but everyone understood it. Step 1 was gossip. Before anyone confronted a troublemaker directly, people talked about it quietly among themselves. Who's been taking more than their share? Who's been picking on the smaller guy? By the time anything became official, everyone already agreed something needed to change. If gossip didn't fix it, step 2 was public embarrassment. The whole group would call the person out, right there in front of everyone. No hiding from it. Everyone in that small world watched it happen. If that still didn't work, step 3 was the group slowly pulling away. Less food shared your way. Fewer people backing you up. Eventually, if things got bad enough, the group could just pack up camp and move without telling you where they went. In a world with no phones, no maps, and no neighboring towns nearby, that could be a death sentence. And if someone kept being genuinely dangerous, violent, repeatedly hurting people, after every single one of those warnings, the whole group would eventually agree together that this person needed to be removed. Not one angry person losing their temper, the entire community deciding together. That last part matters a lot. It wasn't one person seeking revenge, it was everyone agreeing that keeping the group safe came first. If you're finding this as fascinating as I am, go ahead and subscribe. I dig up stuff like this every single day, and trust me, it gets weirder from here. Here's a twist that catches almost everyone off guard. You'd think the powerful, popular, strongest hunter in the group would get special treatment, right? The guy who brings home the biggest kill gets to boss everyone around? Nope, completely backwards. If a great hunter came back bragging about how amazing he was, the group didn't celebrate him. They mocked him, loudly, on purpose. Why? Because letting one person get too much credit, too much power, too much status was seen as dangerous for everyone else. So the group deliberately knocked confident people down a peg constantly to keep things fair. Researchers call this a reverse hierarchy, meaning instead of the strong bullying everyone else, the whole group teamed up to keep any one person from becoming too powerful. Basically, ancient humans invented humble yourself before we humble you, thousands of years before your mum ever said it to you at the dinner table. This wasn't just one group doing this by coincidence. Researchers studying groups on completely different continents, in Africa, in the Arctic, in Australia, groups that never met each other, found almost the exact same system. Gossip first, public shaming second, getting pushed out third, and only as an absolute last resort, the group deciding together to remove someone permanently. Then, thousands of years later, humans started building cities, and things changed. One of the very first written law codes we've ever found from ancient Sumer was surprisingly reasonable. If someone knocked out your tooth, instead of getting hurt back, the guy paid you in silver. A fair trade for the damage, basically. But a few hundred years after that, a king named Hammurabi wrote a much stricter set of laws. His rule was simple: an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Except there was a catch nobody talks about enough. If a rich man knocked out a poor man's tooth, he just paid a small fine. But if a poor man knocked out a rich man's tooth, he lost his own tooth. Same injury, completely different punishment based purely on who you were. That's a big deal, because remember that ancient hunting group we talked about? The one obsessed with keeping everyone equal, mocking anyone who tried to act more important than anyone else? This new system did the exact opposite. It literally wrote inequality into the law. Here's where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. The oldest, simplest justice system humans ever built, small groups keeping each other in check, was actually built on fairness. Nobody was above the rules. Not the strongest hunter, not the most popular person, nobody. But once humans built bigger societies with kings and written laws, something got lost. Justice stopped being about fairness for everyone and started depending on who you were and how much money or power you had. So in a strange twist, the advanced system that came later was, in some ways, less fair than the simple system our ancient ancestors figured out around a campfire with absolutely no education, no books, and no legal training whatsoever. So why does any of this matter now? Because a lot of what we still do today traces straight back to those tiny ancient groups. Ever notice how gossip still spreads through your workplace or your friend group faster than anything official ever could? That's the exact same system, just with group chats instead of campfires. Ever seen someone get publicly called out online for bad behavior before anything official happens? Same idea. Public shame still does a lot of the heavy lifting long before any actual rule gets involved. And honestly, we still instinctively trust a group decision way more than we trust one person deciding alone. That's not modern. That's ancient survival wiring, still running quietly in the background of everyday life. So next time someone gets called out on social media before any court ever gets involved, remember, you're watching something that's been running since long before written history, long before courtrooms, long before judges, long before laws carved into stone. Ancient humans built fairness into their justice with nothing but conversation, patience, and the simple understanding that everyone mattered equally or nobody was safe. We built bigger buildings since then. We didn't necessarily build something fairer. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments what you think we should dig into next.